Before we start today's video, we want to bring you a word from our amazing sponsor, June's Journey. June's Journey is an incredibly fun and engaging, free-to-download game where you search for hidden objects in colorful and beautifully crafted scenes. I have so much fun when I'm playing it, and I'm not the only one. One thing I absolutely love about the game is the storyline. It takes place in the roaring 1920s, and the protagonist, June Parker, is trying to solve the murder of her sister and uncover her family's darkest secrets. It's your job to find objects that are hidden in some beautifully rendered settings. I loved playing this game. It was challenging enough to be engaging, but I also found it relaxing to play while I watched TV at the end of the day. Every time I finished a game, I kept saying to myself, okay, just one more game. Next thing I know, I've played the game over a dozen times, and I'm awake an hour later than usual. To be honest with you, as soon as I'm done making this ad, I'm going to go play a few games of June's Journey. I really enjoyed the story of the game. It's not often that you find that high caliber of a story in a free-to-download game. But of course, find the objects is a lot of fun too. Download June's Journey for free by clicking on the link in the description. June's Journey is available on Android and iOS mobile devices, as well as on PC through Facebook Games. I think you'll really enjoy June's Journey as well, so you should download it today. Download June's Journey for free by clicking on the link below in the description. Number 3. Route 44, Rehoboth, Massachusetts. Highways are inherently scary. They're long, often in the middle of nowhere. Sometimes there are no other cars for miles, and sometimes they're jammed bumper to bumper for eternity. But it's an eerie thing to see someone walking down the highway. It's a precarious state because there aren't any sidewalks, and questions arise as to why this person would be in that situation in the first place. And if you find this scenario frightening, never drive down Route 44 in Rehoboth, Massachusetts. And if you do drive down this highway, you may see a red-headed, middle-aged man, likely wearing a red flannel shirt, maybe jeans or work pants, along with work boots. He has a beard and sometimes looks properly dressed, other times he looks disheveled. Charles Turk Robinson wrote about the red-headed man in his 1994 book, New England Ghost Files, and that is the earliest record of the red-headed man to be put to paper, which means that his presence on the highway started much earlier. While accounts of his appearance seem fairly normal, they become a little scary the closer you get to him. For example, sometimes he'll be completely transparent, other times not, but the most alarming feature is his eyes. Some have said there's nothing particularly different about his eyes, they just have a sense that they feel off. However, others have noticed that he has black, empty eyes. Conversely, others have said that his eyes are glowing but lifeless. There have also been differing reports of the color of his eyes, with some claiming they were red, yellow, or green. Many people have stopped to pick him up with a range of responses from the red-headed man. Some pick him up and say he just disappears. Others have experienced him entering the car, noting that he sits there and stares ahead. Sometimes he's in the back, other times on the front passenger seat. He doesn't engage verbally until he laughs at the driver or even yells at them. That is, until he disappears into thin air right in front of the driver. There have also been experiences with the red-headed man in which he doesn't enter the person's car at all. Instead, the driver encounters him after thinking they hit him with their vehicle. But after investigating, there's no evidence that a collision ever took place. In other meetings, people have said they see him outside the car window even though they're driving, which doesn't make sense. How he can just appear at the window of a moving car is beyond explanation. While this would be terrifying, it's even more alarming when he suddenly appears in the back seat, as some people have experienced. One person reported their tire popping and their car stalling, however, the car was fine. Other less threatening reports are people seeing him wave or disappear into the forest. While it's still an alarming scene on the highway, it's less upsetting than having him appear at your window while you're driving. The identity of this man has never been confirmed. It has been suggested that perhaps the red-headed man was a local farmer who passed away on the highway after being hit by a car while changing a tire. This theory, however, is just that, a theory. His identity has never been confirmed. Number 2. Wakehurst Parkway, Sydney, Australia. Our next highway is a little more fraught with tragedy, and it's the Wakehurst Parkway in Sydney, Australia. It is 9 miles or 14.6 kilometers, and it's the highway that connects Seaforth to North Narrabeen. It is also considered one of Australia's most haunted roads. Some of the less scary incidents could even be explained away. This includes people's windshield wipers suddenly stop working, car doors suddenly locking, or radios turning on, all on their own without human intervention. However, there have been experiences that are slightly more off-putting. One such experience is a driver seeing an older woman and a young girl walking on the highway at night. Some have surmised that they are both from the 1970s, and the older woman is a Scottish nun, and the young girl is someone who had a terrible death. The nun is dressed in a white gown. The legend, which has never been confirmed, is that it's a Scottish nun who died on the highway in the 1970s. The young girl has been given the name Kelly. The origins of the name Kelly don't connect to any particular person, and no one is quite sure why she's become known by that name. Her appearance on the highway started around the year 2000, but she often wears hippie-style clothing. No one knows who this girl could be, whether it's someone who died on the highway or not. Bianchi Biasi is a documentary filmmaker who has looked into the identity of Kelly, and she argues it's likely one of 2 girls who went missing in that area. However, she did not publicly reveal the identity of either girl. Kelly does more than simply walk on the road. She, like the red-headed man in Massachusetts, will appear in the backseat of people's cars and may suddenly disappear. However, she may also want to get out of the car, and if you don't allow her, she will somehow take control of your vehicle and pull the car to the side of the road. The highway has had its fair share of tragedies. In 1960, the body of 8-year-old Graham Thorne was found in Seaforth, where the highway starts. His belongings were found on the side of the highway. Graham's murder is considered one of the most notorious crimes in Australian history. In 1994, Richard Leonard used a bow and arrow to kill Stephen Dempsey, but the horrors didn't stop there. After the murder, Leonard cut Stephen's body into pieces and stored them in a freezer. Over the next year, he would take the body parts out of the freezer and play with them. Then he and his girlfriend dumped the remains near the highway where they were later found. And in 1995, the body of 21-year-old Frances Dazone was found in French's Forest, which is next to the highway. She was strangled to death by her boyfriend. So whether the strange occurrences on the road are a result of these terrible incidents or not is unknown. But the highway is clearly a place that has experienced its own trauma, and that trauma continues to haunt it. Number 1. Route 66, USA. Route 66 is one of the most famous highways in the United States and is reportedly America's most haunted highway. Route 66 goes all the way from Chicago to Los Angeles, which is almost the entire length of the United States from east to west. There are many stops along the highway, and many of them have histories of strange occurrences. The examples we are going to list are only a few of the interesting haunted locations, but there are many more. While riding Route 66, should you find yourself in Flagstaff, Arizona, you may find the Weatherford Hotel. Some incidents that have occurred at the Weatherford include bottles flying off shelves, some lights turning on by themselves at night, and even the jukeboxes coming to life without an actual person being involved. Perhaps it is the spirit of a woman who took her own life upstairs in the hotel. She hanged herself after she thought her husband had disappeared, but he hadn't abandoned her. His return was delayed because of a blizzard. When he finally returned to the hotel, he found his wife dead. Due to his overwhelming grief, he took his own life upon seeing her. Supposedly, they're together now, as people have reported seeing them at their bedsides. If scary hotels in Arizona are your thing, a few miles down Route 66, there's also the Red Garter Inn in Williams, Arizona. It was first built in 1897 and served as a saloon and brothel. There's a range of activity that occurs at the Red Garter Inn. Footsteps in the hallway, doors opening and closing, bed shaking at night, and the feeling of being touched while sleeping. The best known ghost is of a Hispanic woman in a white dress who is known as Eva or Eve. People believe she was murdered in the building and continues to roam the hallways. There is even supposedly a photograph of her. She's on the left side of the photo and does not have a reflection in the mirror. Another haunted place near Route 66 is Lawlerford Road in Wildwood, St. Louis. It's also known as Zombie Road, and if that is enough to worry you, we'll tell you why it's so worrisome. Should you visit Zombie Road, you may come across the ghost of a man who was hit by a train in the 1970s. You may also hear someone screaming at you, but then there's no one around. There's also Della Hamilton McCullough, who was killed in 1876 after being hit by a railroad car. There are reports of her meandering around close to the location of her accident. So it's no wonder they call it Zombie Road. It seems like a popular location for the dead. Although we suppose that it's not actually undead zombies, but let's not get too technical. Now if you're driving down Route 666, a branch of Route 66, you may have a terrifying experience, but shouldn't be a surprise given that it's Route 666. Route 666, renamed Route 491 in 2003, spans 200 miles between Utah, Colorado, and New Mexico through the Navajo Nation. We'd understand if you assumed something hellish could happen, and you'd be right, at least for one unlucky man. While driving down the road, one man reported that he saw a burning truck barreling toward him. He managed to get off the road and even walked about 20 feet into the desert to get as far away from the incident as possible, only to watch the truck speed by him without any signs of stopping. The incident is pretty scary and almost unbelievable. If the flaming speeding truck isn't some ghostly apparition or something hellspawn, then we don't know what is. If we venture to Kansas, we see how marital woes survived even after death. In Kansas, Route 66 is 13 miles long, and the Oak Hill Cemetery is along the route. In this graveyard, there is a woman who passed away, and her husband, who we suppose was either frugal or didn't like his wife very much, because he gave her a cheap funeral. This didn't seem to go over with the late Mrs. In the days following the funeral, her gravestone cracked. So the widower purchased a second gravestone, and it also cracked. Every time the man replaced the gravestone, it cracked. Eventually, he moved out of the area. A ghost that can be seen venturing down Route 66 is Elizabeth Anderson at the Catfish Plantation in Waxahachie, Texas. The story, which hasn't been confirmed to be true, goes that in the early 1900s, she was in her house on her wedding day when her ex-boyfriend entered and killed her. Reports of her sightings include her sitting in the dining room or looking out the window, perhaps wondering what could have been. Staying in Texas, but in Dallas now, there is a site at Route 66 with a very tragic story. In 1897, the Buckner's orphans' home went up in flames, and as the home was made of wood, the flames spread quickly. 15 young boys lost their lives, such a tragic and scary end to the young boys. Now people claim they can hear crying or smell burning in the area. Finally, the last location on our stop on Route 66 is the Chemo Theater in Albuquerque, New Mexico. It was built in 1927 and is considered one of the most haunted locations on Route 66. Unfortunately, the Chemo Theater has had its fair share of fires. In 1951, a boiler in the basement exploded, which resulted in the death of 16-year-old Robert Darnell. The young boy still haunts the theater, as people have seen him around the lobby area. He often plays tricks on people. One such interruption includes playing with the theater switches. One trick that may or may not be fact is if a piece of candy is left out for Robert's ghost, he'll curb his behavior for a while. So it turns out that robbery works for ghost children as well. These 3 highways demonstrate the risks we all take by driving on highways, including running out of gas with nowhere to find more, being in an accident and waiting for help to arrive, and just the general fear of taking the wrong exit and getting completely lost are not really what we should be worrying about. Instead, it's driving by haunted locations, picking up a hitchhiker who stares at you, or having a ghost take control of your vehicle. Thank you so much for watching this video. We hope you found it interesting. If you did find it interesting, please make sure you subscribe. We'll have a new video about the paranormal every week. If you just discovered this channel, please make sure you check out our other channel, Criminally Listed. We have over 325 videos featuring bizarre but true crime stories. You can find it at youtube.com/criminallylisted. We also have a podcast about cold cases that were eventually solved called Criminally Listed Presents Into the Killing. You can find it on Stitcher, Spotify, Amazon Music, and anywhere you find great podcasts. But that's all for today. Thanks again for watching.